Good morning to you, Dr. Persaud. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning, Gordon, and good morning, Alan, and good
Good
morning to
morning.
everyone who's listening.
Great to have you joining
I
us this morning. You're joining us from the Umanayana. I know you met with some more families this
thank you.
morning.
Yes, we are here. Well, I've been here every day, and this command center was set up since on Sunday. And the reason I'm a little late, forgive me for that, is
It's
that I
okay.
was seeing some families off because we have been working here on logistics, on counseling, on family therapy continuously from morning to night. And we have been transporting families over to Region 2 based on who wanted to go. And so I've just been sending some families off, and we make sure when they go, they have breakfast, they have something to drink, and we're sending social workers with them on the flight, sending social workers with them to the airport. They're received by social workers on the ground, so there's constant comfort, a constant presence, because that's what's needed at this time. Because I don't think any one of us in the country can say we're feeling good. I mean, it's painful, it's hurtful. There's so many emotions. There's anger, there's sadness, there's so many.
Yeah, I know there's so many emotions, and even many of our callers this morning have been expressing emotions of their own. Minister, explain to us the help. I know you mentioned some there, but for many of the survivors, they're going through a tough time because not only are they dealing with what they went through, but they're also dealing with the information coming at them. The news reports, the social media stuff, and people asking questions. So in terms of counseling, what's being offered to those survivors?
So from the moment we were informed of what happened, immediately I put together a team from the human services end. Now, it's not only human services that is offering counseling. The Ministry of Health is also doing that, and there's some support from the Ministry of Education. But from the Ministry of Human Services, we have been able to bring together teams from the Child Protection Agency, the Family Enhancement Services section, and the Social Services area. And this was quite a number of persons who were engaged initially, and that number is growing based on the obvious need. We have had social workers on the ground in Region 1, Region 2, and at the command centers, including the Umanayana. But now with persons being identified, the social work teams in the regions where those persons have been identified have been going out and will continue to go out to engage with families who have lost and even survivors, because trauma is there, whichever way you look at it, grief is there. And we are working assiduously and consistently with those families because a number of them are also children. We're working with the children. So to give you an example, social workers have gone into Smith Creek, for example, and whether it's a family session or an individual session, we're making sure that somebody is there at all times. When we would have been ensuring that persons go to identify bodies, we have social workers even at the mortuary there and at the hospital, so that that level of counseling and trauma focused support is there. We've also been able to complement what we're doing with the Guyana Association of Professional Social Workers, and they are also on hand to support. We are engaged some psychologists outside of that as well, and they will be joining the team in addition to who we have at the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security.
And Minister, I want to ask, I know we're speaking about the survivors and relatives and so on, but this is a massive tragedy, and I think that many of our emergency response workers, some of them may have never, dealt with either a tragedy, and of course all of them not with a tragedy of this nature and of this just simply this big. Are there any resources going to be extended towards those emergency response workers as they face the aftermath of what has happened?
Thank you for that, Alana. And you're absolutely right. We've already been discussing that to put a plan in place, because the magnitude of what has happened has really brought together so many people in a united, coordinated way to address the different levels of this tragedy, whether it's the healthcare officers, the human services officers, the first responders who went in, the persons who were engaged in the search. You are right. And this is necessary. And we will be putting together a team to deal with that. We have started with one of the agencies, the Transport and Harbors Department, as of today, because they've lost a lot of crew members. And one of the things I have also been discussing is to have a hotline where even the public, because this thing has taken a toll, this loss, this is devastating to anyone. And even if you speak to a Guyanese person who may not be directly affected, I think it is taking a toll on people. We are all crying. People are crying. The stories out there, when you see the news stories, when you talk to people, it's traumatic for everyone. So we're even looking at that kind of a service going forward. So people can just call and get some words of comfort. And to add to that, Alana, we have also asked the religious communities. Pastors have been coming, the pundits, the Islamic persons have been coming, religious leaders have been coming, because all of this is needed. It's not just, a one approach.
And that is so important, Minister. And I'm happy that you said that this hotline, you might need more than one numbers, will be set up.
Yes,
because
I agree with you.
Even with persons calling in to the station, there's so much emotion, and some persons are saying, especially our elderly folks, we got to take care of them, and the news going at them, it is overwhelming, because many of them, they're 70 years old, 80 years old, they're seeing all of this, and they're saying they've never experienced something like this. And so when the children leave the home and go to work, they find themselves looking at stuff over and over again too, and that itself could be traumatic for them.
Yes, and you remember too that we don't only have the immediate families, we also have extended families. We have communities that would have been affected, because I was speaking to families, and when you listen to it, Gordon, it's very hard not to break down entirely with them, with what they're going through. We are there for them to hold on to be a shoulder, to be everything, literally everything and anything they need at this point in time. And when I've been here at the Humanian every day, night, day, the families are coming out in their numbers. I mean, it might be a grandmother, it might be beyond a grandmother, way down a distant cousin. And so, yesterday, one of the ladies said to me, she allowed me, she just cried. She said, I know you for so long. I never thought that I haven't seen you in a while. This is how I would be seeing you again. And, one of the gentlemen who lost his two brothers, he said to me, I need to see you back in my life. I need to see. So it's people coming together. I can't even begin to give you the words to describe what's been happening. Some of my staff members, and I want to say a huge thank you to them and express my gratitude this week. Some of my staff members stayed from their family when we first got word and people were here, stayed. We were wherever people were staying, they stayed. And they have children, they have families too. But that's how deeply and personally every one of us is taking this. And you're right, whether it's an older person or a child, that level of support has to be there. And I want to say one of the things we want to do is to keep it continuous for as long as is needed, and even those persons who are offering this support, our social service officers, I am also thinking at some point in time too, I have to get counseling for them, because they've been dealing with these emotions all the time. But I can't tell you how grateful I am for them. How grateful.
And Minister, also we've seen persons online, professionals in the field of counseling and so, who may not be living in Guyana, but they want to offer services online. Is there any point person they can reach out to in case it might be, whether it's families or it may be regular citizens, and that may require these services, and they want to offer that service from wherever they are?
So we will be setting up something, because I have also gotten some requests from persons overseas. We'll be looking at how we can coordinate this to have something very comprehensive happen, so that as much as we can do, we will do. But we want to do it in a very organized way, because you see, one of the things that really, really affected the families here, and I can tell you yesterday and the day before, was when things were posted on social media and they saw bodies and they didn't know. I mean, they couldn't identify it. So everybody was screaming here to say, who are these persons? And yes, that kind of thing. Because even though we have had the imagery, you have to be sensitive how you are sharing that with people, or if you need to share it at all, but just let them know. It's a very delicate and sensitive way that we have to address all of this.
Minister, thank you so much for that. And as I was mentioning earlier in the program, because, eventually many of us will go back to our regular lives, but there will be a mother going home to 7 empty beds, a wife going home to an empty side of the bed, and so we've got to keep them in our thoughts. And the last thing they will want to see is, a year from now, months from now, is that image popping up on social media to take them back to that place where they are now. So we too join in encouraging persons to be very sensitive of what we're sharing on social media because there's so many families in mourning and deeply traumatized by all of this.
Yes. And I want to say that when we do trauma-focused grief counseling, it has to cater for that long term. So what we have managed to do in the last 2 years is train a lot of workers in grief counseling in particular,
Yeah.
because from our last tragedy, I realized that there was a need for that. So we've been through University of Guyana, there was a program developed for that, and we've trained a number of people. So we will be reaching out to all those persons to assist us to specifically in grief counseling, because grief manifests itself in so many different ways. And I want to say thank you to the people out there, generally, my Guyanese brothers and sisters who've been praying. Prayers, I believe, are so important. And I want to encourage people to pray because that generates positive energy. And right now, we need all the healing and positivity that will come from that kind of energy. So you might not be able to speak to people as myself and my cabinet colleagues would have been doing here and at other places, You might not be able to directly do it. But just by doing that prayer for someone or those families, I think it helps.
Thank you so much, Minister of Human Services, Dr. Vindhya Persaud, joining us this morning from the Umaniyana, where she has been for the past couple of days interacting with those families going through this recovery process, this traumatic process. And we thank you so much, Minister, for joining us this morning, and best wishes to you and the staff down there at Umaniyana.
Yeah, thank you very much. And we will be here. And as I said, to everybody, just keep everyone in your prayers. That's what we can do as a nation together, offer comfort at this point in time.
Thanks a lot,
Thank you
Minister.
for having me this morning on your program.
Thanks a lot.